My check. My check. Is it okay? All right, so we're gonna back. Thank you. So once again, welcome back to Victor's live stream. Yeah, another day, another live stream, and today's topic we will learn about a very controversial topic as well as so one of the popular topic being mentioned these days. I mean, for this century. Yes, as you can see on the screen, is about language. I don't think I need to explain too much about the term language because you already know what it is. Language is what say what a people in in a country speak. So probably let me search for the oh shit. Let me search for the definition really quick. I don't know how to explain it in a academic way. However, I think Google can help me. Okay, so language is very complex or very abstract let's say definition. So language can be understood as the system of communication in speech and writing that is used by people of a particular country or area. So there are thousands of different language, not thousand, I'm sorry, that is just exaggerates, but there are, let's say, hundreds of language nowadays on Earth, as well as, let's say, maybe in one country there are actually several languages. Like let's take for example, Chinese. So in China, sorry, China. So with China, we have different dialects and different type of language in one country. Beside that, we have Japanese. So as far as I know, mm, what's that? Yeah, as far as I know, the yeah, Japanese also have, let's say, three dialects, if I'm not wrong, three or two dialects, and which of each of them will be let's say each of them will have a separate alphabet. So there is a lot of things to talk about language. Okay, but you may have concern like what is yeah, you may have not concerned like what is the most spoken language on earth. So yeah, this is also the initial question we have for our live stream today. So which is the most popular language in the world? Mm, so yeah, to answer these questions, I will put it into two different way or two different perspective. I mean, yeah, a language is considered belong to a one person, whether it is their okay, so this number is actually having two categories. So first is about native speakers. So which is native speaker are the person who actually born and speak that language as their mother tongue. And also the other option, the other category would be the speaker only, which means that type of language can be their initial or their first language, or it would be their second language, secondary language, or maybe yeah, a foreign language to them is not their not native tongue. Okay, and yeah, the answer of this question might surprise you or might not surprise you since you may have already know about it, but I'm gonna mention it here, which is this. If you think English is the most popular language on earth, yes, you are right, but somehow you are wrong. Okay, to explain this, as you can see the statics on the screen. So English has 1.13 billion speakers around the world. But the actual amount of native speaker of English is only around 370 million, which is like super small. But yeah, I know it's not super small, but to some extent it is still pretty low compared to other country. So yes, so the most popular or the highest number of native speaker recorded in the world would speak Chinese. So Chinese has 1.3 billion native speaker. So the number may vary widely, but there's no doubt that Chinese or Mandarin is the most spoken language in the world. If you wish to learn a language that 1 in 6 person in the world speak, this is the one for you. So seeing Chinese is a tonal language that is used thousands of low programs. It will certainly keep you busy because this is very difficult to learn if you are just accustomed to a normal alphabet or Latin alphabet. So yeah, that's why I say yes. That's why I feel like it would be divided into two categories. First would be the total number of speaker, and the second would be about native speaker. So yeah, English, when comparing the number of native speaker of English and Chinese, you can see that English is just about 1/3, yeah, around 1/3 of Chinese native speaker. So the gap or the difference is very big. However, when concerning the total number of speakers around the world, there would be a big difference. So here, yeah, not really a big difference. However, they just changed position, they just changed the ranking, you know. So total number of speaker of a language ranking, we have 9 rank here. So firstly, we have English. So around the world, there are an estimately around 1.348 billion of total speakers. Meanwhile, Mandarin Chinese, we have 1.120 billion total speaker. And on the third place, we have Hindi. Yeah, Hindi, this might come as a surprise to you because you never think that Hindi would be so popular, right? But yeah, actually on the statistic online, or as well as I know, Hindi has 600 million total speakers around the world. Pretty impressive, right? And yeah, next up we have Spanish, with a little less than Hindi would be around 543 million total speaker around the world. And yeah, Standard Arabic. Yeah, you see, Standard Arabic, you might not think like, oh, like Arabic, it's not really popular. It's just some popular in like the Middle East, Asia countries. However, it is ranked as the 4th popular language on earth, which is around 247 million total speaker. And Bengali, I don't actually know what language is that. Let me check real quick. Let's see. Bengali is a language of Bangla. India? Yeah. Oh, Bengal. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose Bengali is the language of India. Come as no surprise because you see, India has a very high number of population, so that's why Bengali is ranked as the sixth most popular language on earth. Yeah, after that we have French, Russian, and Portuguese. Okay, what is that? All right. So yeah. As you can see, there are thousands of language, but here are 9 most popular language on earth, which has the highest amount of the highest number of speakers around the world. And let's say there comes a lot of interesting facts behind each language. So let's say like English. Yes, English can be picked up like in the persuasion of soft power of US culture. Means that let's say English has a foreseen to be continue to dominate the world stage for the foreseeable future. So for some, English is still synonymous with opportunity and better quality of life. So a lot of people learning English now as their secondary language, as you already know, for the Vietnamese. And Chinese also. I mean, like Chinese, you can see some school or some university has put Chinese into their so what is that called? Their syllabus. Some school has put Chinese in their syllabus as a second language for students to learn. So that is why you can actually understand the importance of the secondary language when you're choosing it. And each of them will have a practical usage, which will be mentioned later on the next slides or on the next 2 slides in this. So in some university nowadays, you might see like there are courses for you to choose between different secondary language. Like I see from my experience, right? We have if you are not studying in a major of English, you can choose between Korean, Japanese, Chinese, and all that, and sometimes Russian. For some school, they also offer Russian and German as the second language. But yeah, Russian and German are, let's say, not really practical. I'm not saying it's not practical, but it's not really popular nowadays. So most of the students would choose somewhat around between the Chinese Chinese and Japanese, because Chinese and Japanese will allow them to have more opportunity in their career path. However, the other languages are also encouraged to be learned in order to just expand their opportunity or their chances to be taken into those let's say international companies or international corporation. And yeah, in the let's say one of the university in Hanoi, we have say there is a major in a school that's called Arabic linguistics, and that is actually new because I know it from my student. So yeah, my student actually study Arabic linguistics, and I have never thought of that before. I mean, who would like to study Arabic, right? It would be very difficult, and like if you can see, there's no really practical usage nowadays. Most of people nowadays, or most companies nowadays speak, let's say, English, Chinese, Japanese, and all that, but not Arabic. And some company also recruiting the person who can speak Thai or let's say Cambodian, because this actually depends on the characteristic the characteristic of their job. So yes, actually so that's what I want to say, what I want to mention throughout the example here is that every language is important. I mean, they have equal importance and equal qualities to one's person, to one's career path. So yeah, something like moving and moving on. Yes, great. But yes, talking about the practical languages you can learn nowadays, as I mentioned, some school has given the student opportunity to choose between languages. So yeah, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, French, Russian, maybe German. Yeah, but I never seen any school that offers Spanish. So here are, let's say, 6 examples of the most practical languages you can learn nowadays. So yes, firstly, English, of course, like English, I don't think I need to mention a lot about English because you already know how important it is in nowadays. English is definitely one of the most important language to learn and beyond. It is used in global business, worldwide travel, diplomatic affairs, and in computer technology. But not only for that, many of the top global economies are English-speaking ones. So in the US, Canada, Australia, and the UK. English has the highest number of the second language speaker. Yes, don't mistake it with the native speaker. Just the highest number of the second language speakers, with almost a billion of non-native English speakers in the world. Right. Beside that, if like as far as I'm concerned, if you are a native speaker of English, you might see that some school, foreign school, they offer student courses in studying Spanish. And actually, the reason behind this option is very reasonable, and seems to make sense because Spanish has a large number of native speaker and a large number of overall speaker as well. And most Spanish-speaking countries are located in the South and the Central of America, which are extremely popular travel destinations in recent years. For this reason, you may find many across the world who speak Spanish. In addition, due to a large number of Spanish speakers in the US, if you live, work, or travel in the United States, Spanish is absolutely the go-to language you should learn. And yes, getting back to Mandarin Chinese, yes, Mandarin Chinese is popular because its population. Because yeah, as I told you in the first slide, I mean, Mandarin Chinese has more than 1 billion, 1.3 billion native speaker. And this is the most, like, it is the language that has the most native speaker in the world. Of course, it is top of the list. So yeah, most speakers are located in China. However, it is still one of the most important language because China is engaging as global power, and it becomes increasingly more important for business to have team members that know Chinese. So in some, let's say, in some international company, there is a separate sector of translator or interpreter recruiting. Yeah, there are a separate sector that recruiting people who can actually who can speak Chinese or who can translate Chinese or can interpret Chinese. So as you can see, that is very important language to learn nowadays. And yeah, German. It may come quite surprising to you, like German is the most practical language. But yeah, in order to manifest this opinion, so German is one of the most widely spoken language throughout Europe. Yes, Europe. As Germany remain Europe's most dominant country, most dominant economy. So for this reason, if you want to do business or plans to do business in Europe, German is one of the most important and most vital language you need to learn. So it is actually a funny language to learn with ending tacked on words to give them specific meanings. Yeah, I'll give you an illustration later. Like to make you understand why German is funny to learn. But it is also surprising easy language to learn. I don't think so. Yeah. However, from my experience, I don't think German is easy to learn. It takes a lot of effort. And yes, the next one will be French. As you already know, French is the French were taught to the Vietnamese in the past, during the 1940s, 40s or 50s. So French was chosen as the secondary language for people at that time. Yeah, and later on in the 1970s or 80s, English actually take the dominant as the secondary language for Vietnamese people. But yeah, there is some specific facts that make French one of the most practical language you can learn nowadays. You already know that French is the language of love, but it was actually international and diplomatic language for centuries. Some English word, if you pay close attention, you can actually see that there are a lot of borrowed words from French. And only recently, historically speaking, with the rise of United States as a global power, English prevailed the language of diplomacy, which is French. And France is still quite the economic powerhouse and a popular travel destination. Yeah, so that's why making French is, let's say, a worthwhile language you should learn nowadays. And lastly, it would be Japanese. Japanese is not, yeah, not really spoken outside of Japan. However, when you travel to Japan, you don't want to speak English because that not many people will understand you. But yeah, if you speak Japanese in Japan, you're actually showing your love to the culture, the food or the technology. Knowing Japanese can get you far in many ways. And Japanese is also an excellent, mm, let's say, is also an excellent introduction to other languages, to other Asian languages. So as you can see, Japanese have, let's say, a pretty same, I don't say it's the same, but pretty similar. They are pretty similar dialect to Korean and Chinese, right? So those are, if I'm not wrong, they are called figurative dialects, figurative dialects. So learning Japanese can be tricky because you have to actually learn a new dialect, learn a new alphabet, and there are actually two different dialects in the language of Japan. So yeah, tricky. But yeah, there are some Chinese character in Japanese. So if you already learn Chinese, I think Japanese wouldn't be a big deal for you. And it share a pretty similar grammatical to Korean. Learning Japanese puts you on the path to learn all of these other language. Let's say the figurative language, as I mentioned, figurative. Okay. Besides that, there are 1,000 more, let's say, some more languages like Italian, Hindi, Arabic, Russian, Portuguese. But I mean, I just put in the most practical language you can learn in Vietnamese because, yeah, I mean, learning English is difficult already. So if you are talented or if you love learning language, you can choose to study either Spanish, Chinese, or German, or French, or Japanese. That's an option for you. But what are the criteria or what are the standards that I put these into the list of the practical languages here? First, there are actually four criteria or four standards. So first one will be the number of speakers. It is very important to know like how many speakers there are of a language before you set your heart on learning it. Most people opt to learn language spoken by the largest number of people. So let's say Chinese and yeah, Chinese and Hindi. I don't think people should learn Hindi. You should also consider how many people speak the language as their second language. So yeah, in this case, English. With this information, you will open more door to global communication. So as you can see, Chinese and English, yeah, specifically English or especially English. English will allow you to be exposed more to the world as well as, say, globalization. Yes. And the second criteria will be geographic region. This is where your goal and interests come into play. So do you plan to travel in one particular region for a while? If so, you just look for the languages that are commonly spoken there. Or if you want to learn a language that is widely spoken throughout the world, you will want to offer English, French, or Spanish, which are spoken in all continents. That's why I say French and Spanish are important. Okay, use a ability and versatility. Choosing a language might be tricky, but when you choose it, you might want to look at versatility. Mainly, can you use it both both at home and abroad? What about in both business and social context? Ask yourself, you should ask yourself, like, how much will I use this language? It takes time and effort to learn a language, so you have to choose wisely between those languages because there are like hundreds of different options for you, and you should choose the one that is most usable for you. And lastly, this is, let's say, one of the most reasonable reason to learn a secondary language would be about career opportunity. So many people, let's say, doesn't love learning language at all, but their job or the requirement of their job force them to actually learn a new language. So this is all about career opportunity. So you should think of your current or future field and location of business. So if you were working in the United States, Spanish is a very useful language to learn. But if you're working in Vietnam, maybe Chinese is taking the dominance now today. Japanese also, because yeah, I don't mention English here because English is put into an education system, let's say for the past 20 years. So I don't think it should be a secondary language, but optional secondary language, but it is an obligatory second language. Or if you expect to your industry or company would do a lot of international business, learn the language that will be useful in your field. It can be Chinese, Japanese, Italian, or German. Yes, the options are very varied. And as you already know, learning a language. Oh, okay, give me 1 second. As you already know, like learning a language takes a lot of time. Yeah, not to mention like mastering. Oh. Yeah, not to mention like mastering it. So it takes a lot of effort, take a lot of time. So be wise in choosing the language you want to learn. And once you put your heart into that language, it will make your learning process much easier rather than just forcing yourself to study it to serve some specific purpose or to serve your work. Like, I don't think that would make sense. It makes sense. It will somehow increase your salary, will give you a promotion or something. But in that way, like you are very, say, learning a language in a forceful way, and you don't really feel comfortable, you don't feel motivated at all. So learning language is all about passion. Yes. So be wise in choosing a language to learn. Okay. Yes. So as I mentioned in the previous few slides, language sorted by usages, as you can see here, I think this will make a clearer sense when it comes to choosing a language to learn, because here are the statics of total speakers on the word, as well as the actual usage of that specific language. So as you can see, French and English are the language of diplomacy and academic. So yeah, if you want to have career promotion or better career path, you should learn English as well as French. But if you want to work for a global company or let's say global economy, language of business, so that is Chinese is the option you should opt for. Or if you are applying for some some country or some international country that's based in the south or the central of America, that is Spanish. That is when Spanish is the good choice. Yeah, European would be German. Okay, a lot of, let's say, options, a lot of usage. So be wise when choosing it. And yeah, if you want to learn like the figurative effectively, or let's say making the first step into learning figurative language, Japanese. Yes. Because Japanese is very strong, or let's say it is a strong house or it's a powerhouse in IT, in technology. So yeah, if you want to work in technology or IT, Japanese is a go-to language to learn. Besides that, Japanese is the first step for you to learn on figurative language, as I mentioned. Italian, I don't think it would be very practical nowadays. Yeah, I mean, if you love the culture of Italian, it would be suitable for you. But let's say for companies nowadays, not many company would speak Italian. Hindi. Yeah, Hindi. If you want to work in India, you should learn Hindi. But yeah, although like it is very popular, I don't think like I could ever learn that because it is like Spruce language, which is very lengthy and it is very confusing sometimes. So Hindi and Thai, and they share the pretty same. I don't want to. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. But Hindi and Thai share the pretty same handwriting or the dialects. So yeah, if you want to treat yourself, if you want to challenge yourself into learning a difficult dialect, this is your go-to. Okay, Portuguese, Korean, and Arabic. Yeah, Arabic is also difficult to learn. Yes, as you can see, the statistic are here, so you can take you can take a capture of the screen and use it for references when choosing another language to learn. Okay, here are some interesting facts that that comes to language here. So French is the language that is spoken on 5 continents. Meanwhile, okay, French is, yes, okay, yes, French is the language spoken on 5 continents. And Russian is the most useful language on the internet, as well as Portuguese is the highest demand language. My bad, highest. Yo. Highest demand language on earth nowadays, because Portuguese are pretty similar to Spanish. Portuguese is the main language of the Central and the South of America. So that is why it is very highly demanded there. To explain for the reason why French is the language spoken on 5 continents, let's have a really quick look in the past. I mean, French colonizer spread out all over the world in the past, and as a result, there are both native and non-native speakers in every continent nowadays. Yeah, it might be become surprising because if beside Vietnamese, when you're searching on Google, beside Vietnamese, I think most of you will use English to search for the thing you're looking for on the internet, right? However, English, when you search for English, the number of results you get is not as much as Russian, because Russian is the most useful language on the internet. So a little less than half of all the web content is written in Russian. Plenty is written in English as well, but if you are all about internet life, you may want to learn some Russian. and Portuguese. So Portuguese, this reason behind Portuguese is the highest demand language is because the rapidly growing economy of Brazil and the native language is of Brazil is Portuguese. So an effect of colonizer in the area of Portugal. Brazil tourism is actually booming and making many companies are setting up location in Brazil, making Portuguese is a newly in demand language. Hmm. So yeah, hopefully through my explanation, you can, let's say, having a clearer path about the language you choose to learn as a secondary language. Great. So which is the most difficult language to learn? Yeah, some of you might think like some minor language like Arabic or Thai or Cambodian or Laos, and all that. But yeah, the result might be varied. I'm not assuming on this one. It say less than 1 minute, but here, I don't know. Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm not assuming about the results because it can be derived from different region of the world or different places or different preferences. So yeah, some people might find figurative dialects are easy to learn. But for me, I think the Latin alphabet is the most easy to learn because I cannot take in all the dialects nowadays. Just feel super tired. So yeah, but for me, I think German is one of the most